Welcome back. Get a grip on lighting. Here again. Today we got Royce Banuelos with us, marketing manager for SLG Lighting, an LED lighting manufacturer known for their high base, commercial lighting, and turnkey sports lighting solutions. I heard about those at the NILT convention, actually. He has an extensive 15 plus years of experience in marketing and has been lighting for 4 years, falling in love with the industry of making the world a brighter and darker place. You watch it with that brighter, Royce. We also want to protect the darkness. But before we go there, we have to talk about his company, slgus.com, Greg Garrick. SLG.
Yeah, great company. I know Royce is on here, and I'm saying that right to his face, but I'm legit about that. And we're going to talk specifically about sports lighting today and what an exciting market that is, and the solution that SLG is like no one else's. So you're going to hear about it, even though we try not to make it too advertorial in the podcast. We got to talk about it a little bit. But sports lighting is a hot market you should get into, and SLG is a company that can help you get there.
And also, Rob from SLG, Rob Cirillo, is on the board of directors of NAILD, so they're coming in hot here. And we got to talk about NAILD, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. That's right, where lighting means business was our old tagline. I love that tagline, where lighting means business. But you know what I found out today, Greg?
What's that?
Light Fair's back, and it's in Vegas, buddy. Oh,
It's
yeah.
back. I'm so excited for it. In May, Vegas, Light Fair, the industry's lighting trade show,
Come on,
hands down.
man. Don't be a chump. Go to Light Fair. That's right. Royce, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is an exciting opportunity. Very excited to be here.
No problem.
Long overdue, Royce. Let's
Excited
get
for Light
into
Fair too.
sport. Yes, Light Fair's a ticket for sure.
Yeah,
But
I
the
like that
subject
tagline. Don't be a chump.
Yeah, don't be a chump. You got to go to Light Fair, man. Yeah.
right. Yeah, so the sports lighting market is exciting to me because there's a few reasons. I like sports. I coach football, and I actually have to deal with sports stadium lighting when I coach football. I have to go flip breakers, wait for the metal halides to warm up, all that stuff at the school that I coach at. So I'm going to try to change them someday. I'm working that angle, but it's also like a different sale than anything I've ever done in lighting. Always been about
Right.
energy savings and all that. And sure, this is the same story, but it's more about like almost a theatrical piece is like the
Mm,
excitement that it brings. Like
mm,
people don't really look at, the payback story isn't always there, but like the memories that people have and being in the stadium and like
mm.
scoring a touchdown, lights flashing on and off. I think it's awesome, and I'm excited about the opportunities there. And I know you guys have a unique solution, but what do you think if you had to say a percentage of stadiums that have been converted right now to
Mm.
LED? What do you think would be?
Oh, I think that number's still fairly low. I think it's biggest objection we come across is going to be cost. Upfront cost can be a little high, a little scary. On top of it, you know how it goes sometimes with any kind of lighting sale. No matter how short of a sale that is, sometimes keeping keeping the project on board, uh, things can falter at any kind of moment. And with sports lighting, what we see more than any of our other lighting sales is that the sales cycle is considerably longer. So
Hmm.
keeping everybody on board for that 6 month period of time, 9 month period of time to reach that end goal is kind of the what we're facing up against right now.
Yeah, and there's very much so a range. You've got your community park where they might play a night flag football game and need a little bit of light, or soccer or baseball or whatever it is. A lot of parks don't even have lights, and now they're considering them because they're becoming affordable. And then there's the high school level, and then there's a college level, and then there's a professional level, and it kind of ramps up as you go. So there are so many opportunities out there, and I think the answer to percentage is 10%. I might be guessing at that, but from the opportunities I see in the area I live, most of them are still metal halides. So that excites me. That means there's opportunity for
Yeah,
lighting distributors.
for sure,
Okay.
absolutely, and especially as state governments start regulating a lot more of that the lighting that they need to see out there, the more you're going to see conversions to LED, and you're going to see even bigger rebates. And that's a lot of what we work with. We work with rebate programs. We work with insurance companies in order to get lighting up to date and just making these fields more impactful.
When it comes to the smaller to mid, like let's say a municipal field with 3 baseball fields, something like that, Greg.
Hmm.
You'll see in a medium-sized town, you'll see the town will own a big field with 4 soccer fields and 3 baseball fields. Now I've seen a couple done LED, a lot of retrofit kits, stuff like. I haven't seen anything done well at that level. Do you have examples of at the municipal level of them buying into a sports lighting upgrade or a smaller field and really nailing it with the controls and the different things that you can do very easily with LED?
Have I seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say it's a two-part thing. Usually buying into the lights and then buying into the controls package as well.
Mm.
To me, the controls package is one of the more important parts of that. And like what Greg mentioned, it is a little bit more of a sale on the, you'll say like the excitement factor of it. Yeah, you're in a high school. You want your team to look good. You want your high school players. You want them to feel good, and so that's one of the big sales with the control side. But we of course know on the lighting side how important controls are just for the everyday user as well. And I think that's where we see a little bit more trouble of having like solid case studies of municipalities, like you mentioned, using LED lighting to its full advantage. So I think what they probably get sold on a fixture, and they just throw the fixture in without really considering the full effects of it, or adding a controls package.
Yeah. And I can't stress enough from, I brought up the other example, but it's also in a youth football situation where you had to turn on the lights by opening 2 different doors with 2 different keys, and then you had to flip the switch. And how many people had the key? 2 people in town. So if I wasn't around, the other guy was there. If neither of us were around, they couldn't turn the lights on, and
I have
that's
no
a
idea.
problem. So
Right.
you need to have,
Right.
the app based and the control based. Totally, one of the most important aspects of it. Um, but as far as
Absolutely.
what goes into the process, I know a little bit about yours, but why don't you share to us how SLG comes about a sport lighting project? What do you guys do? What are the steps?
Absolutely. So, a little background on SLG Sports Lighting. It started maybe 5, 6 years ago, and initially it was like other brands where it was just a fixture. It was one fixture on top of the other fixtures that we sell. Hey, do you have a sports lighter? Yes, we have a sports lighter. But it wasn't until our VP of Sales, Chandler Hancock, came in and he started using his connections to really push full turnkey solutions out there. And so that's where we really started to separate as just a product, another sports lighter, with being our own brand. And that's where people are starting to recognize us more. So Chandler does handle a lot of projects hands on. I mean, we go through our traditional reps for sure, and for you know, but what he follows projects, bringing everybody together, and a lot of where his strengths are is actually going to be convincing stuff like, maybe a vice principal who's in charge of these decisions, but of course doesn't know necessarily the ins and out of lighting. They don't see it. They can't see that end product until Chandler gets involved and showing them step by step by step, and being in contact with them sometimes on a daily basis to make sure that project comes through. Um, what we do is we bring together contractors that we know across the country who we know can install these fixtures, who know can follow it through, and aren't just going to leave them when they're done. Hey, the lights are in. It's up to you. But just like you mentioned, so that way it's not just 1 or 2 people who know how to turn on the lights. Um, they're there with them so that they can run full controls when they need to. And so that's really what we do is we tie the whole process together, and we make sure that we include and cut everybody in. Obviously, their cut of the deal. We cut everybody in on it so that every step of the way, we get some lights sold, and we start upgrading some fields.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most difficult pieces is the install side. You might disagree, but I've worked with subcontractors and tried to explain it and try to figure it out. But there's so many little details that can go into sports lighting. You'd have to first confirm the pole. Is it a good pole still? How do you do that as a lighting distributor? You can't. We're not structural engineers. So if somebody says, "Should I
Right.
replace my poles?" I say, "I don't know." Do you have any suggestions for us on how we could do? Do we have anybody that can tell us the integrity of their poles, the life of the poles, anything like that?
I think it's just continual communication, open communication. If you don't know somebody, reach out to us on the manufacturing side, and we'll reach out and we'll find somebody to get out there on the field. We do know that it's people in the field, hands on deck.
Mhm.
Expertise is going to be more important than anything else. And that's why Chandler is so hands on with the sports lighting process to make sure that every step of the way goes correct. There's really no shortcuts to some things like that. A field can be a huge responsibility, and there could be some oversights, and there could be some parts missing, or it was supposed to be that, it was supposed to be that. Just in any kind of lighting project, there's going to be things you don't account for. And in sports
Right.
lighting, that's almost double the amount of things you can't account for. And that's where that's part of the reason why the sales process is so long, is because you do have to get boots on ground. You do have to get on site there and see for yourself, to make those modifications as need. If it is a new pole, well, then we'll find a pole supplier, and we'll make sure we have the contractors who can get it installed.
It's also the base. You know what I mean? Like to sink a base and a pole, you start getting into a lot really expensive project just to get the new
Mm-hmm.
poles in. And yeah, you can do vibration analysis and stuff like that on poles, but you just have to have it in your contract that sometimes poles fall over, and it has nothing to do with you. They fall over for their own reasons. You know what I mean? For tons of wind, storms, tornadoes, ice, salt, hit by a truck. There's all sorts of different reasons on that pole side. It's part of the project to examine them and have a look at them, but you don't always know. You can't always say that. No one's going to say that a 20-year-old pole is safe or a 15-year-old pole is safe. They'll just say it looks structurally sound to me, and it doesn't vibrate and it doesn't move on its base. After that, you don't know how it was built. So there's my little spiel on the poles. What I wanted to ask you was the controls, Greg, and what I see as a real play is that, and I don't know if you guys do this, Royce, but if the distributor or the agent or whoever is taking care of that job, in Greg and I's case, it would be the distributor. Maybe an agent's in charge of the sale. Who knows? Lighting industry works different everywhere. But if
Mm-hmm.
the distributor had people on staff that really knew how to commission those controls and help those people commission those controls, that's an ongoing sale to me, Royce. I think people are going to come back to you over and over again to redo and do different effects, upgrade software. Maybe you can do other things. How is that looking for you guys? Is the software strong? Do you train people on it? What are you guys doing?
Well, I'd say across the industry, controls right now, especially finding good qualified people for controls, is a bit of a struggle in that sense. And so, like I said, we are very hands on. If we do need to go on site and commission, we will go on site and commission. But we do work with our controls partners. We work with Synapse. We work with Avion, to get individual projects sorted out. We've flown our guys out, our engineers. We've flown them out to be on the field, to make sure things are going right. And then when there are little hiccups, same way, we just run it up the chain. And I will say too, just saw how Nailed is offering like the courses for lighting controls, and
Press release
stuff
just
like that.
dropped, buddy. Hot off the press.
Yep.
You know how
Yeah, just
terrified
read
I
through
was
that stuff.
I was so terrified. So I'm on the team that's produced that. I'm not actually doing any of the training, but I'm on the team to
Mhm.
produce the event at Lightivation. And I was just going to bring it up that distributors need, like, this idea of initial commissioning. That's the first step. But like any software, there's more you can do with it, Greg. And if distributors were able to go and show the customers how that those controls can be utilized for different events or do different things, or even go and do it for them, I see that as an essential part of the distribution channel of controls trading that Webster Marsh is putting together as a huge ongoing sale to the customer on a regular basis. The initial commissioning is one thing, Royce, but then people want to change it. They want to update it. They want to do new
Oh, for sure,
things, right? And
for sure.
that's
And a
not.
lot of times it's yeah, a lot of times the systems are getting so much easier to where when
Mhm.
you do need to make those changes, that it's easy enough for the everyday user to do, but access to that, or making it seem more approachable is one of the uphill battles that we do face.
And I think
You
if
know,
there was support on the other end of the line, Greg, that some people that were trained and certified in SLG's control package, in Max Light, I'm just going to say another company, don't get pissed, but other nailed
sure.
members control packages, I think distributors should look at that as, hey, what do I do? I sell light bulbs to people on an ongoing basis. Maybe what I'm selling is the knowledge of the lighting, not the actual light bulbs themselves, Greg.
Right. Well, you're right. I think that's a huge piece of this is that, and I think some of the other things I'm looking at as I talk about sports lighting or think about it is issues down the road and maintaining it and access to them. They're high mounting heights. You got to get a wild lift in there at times. Who knows what the cost of
Hmm.
that's going to be? Depending on what type of lift. But are you doing most of your lights as remote mounted power, or are you doing them with the power built on the base of the fixture?
It really depends. We try to make sure that whatever lighting package that's getting installed is the right one for the field. Remote drivers, we have the capability, and a lot of times that opens up to longer warranties that we can establish. But there's a cost difference too. And so we understand sometimes balancing that budget versus balancing what is the ideal scenario. Even like if you think of something like healthcare, right? If you ask your doctor, what do I need? The doctor's going to recommend a whole lot of stuff because that's to give you the absolute most you need. But so somewhere along the line is kind of where you make that compromise. And it's not like maintenance or getting up on rafters, lifts is anything new for sports lighting. Changing an old light bulb, big pain in the butt. They have to do it all the time anyway. The comparison I like to use is that if I think of my car, right, I can expect to change my tires on a pretty regular basis. So I don't necessarily consider that cost as much. But let's say my alternator goes out. Now it seems like it's a real big cost to me, even though maybe I just changed my alternator one time in the life cycle of my car, but it just feels like it's a bigger cost, even though it's nowhere near the same cost of like changing out tires. Changing out those big bulbs up on a big pole. I mean, that's a regular occurrence for them, regular occurrence, and so there, you can't say any system's going to work 100% of the time, every single time. Um, but well, maybe you can, but
No,
I
no,
certainly can't.
I'm pointing to myself to tell Greg I'm asking the next question. You're laughing at
Oh,
me as we're
gotcha.
signaling to each other. That's okay. All the
You
listeners out
can.
there know. Greg
Gotcha.
and I literally point at each other to tell each other when we're going to speak. So,
Gotcha.
um,
That's a cool system. All right, I
yeah,
didn't know
it's
that,
really
but yeah.
sophisticated.
So that's so we offer plenty of options for just depending on the budget and make sure that it fits what the customer's going to need.
Yeah. So what I was talking with Rob about at the convention, what I really liked was that he said, listen, if you have a lead, we'll come in and take care of everything for you, and you can be involved or hands off as much as you want to be with SLG. So if you want to be there commissioning, and if you want to have your guys installing it or whatever, we'll support you with the design, the specification, the controls, or if you want to learn the controls, you can do the controls. And so SLG really supports the product all the way through to the application with these sports lighters. Do I have that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's like when I mentioned before, we introduced the sports slider before we had a separate brand for it, and that separate branding is what sets us apart. Is that, like you mentioned, we can be as hands on as possible. We know it can be a complicated process, and we're not expecting everybody to be the sports lighting experts, But we are expecting you to trust us to make you look good, and that's really what we strive to do.
That's a strong offering, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you guys? Are you getting into RGB at all? Color changes in
Yeah,
the field.
yeah. In fact, the fixture behind me is our RGB model that we have. On our YouTube page, we have a lot of case studies that show video of some of the fields that we've done recently. Uh, there's one Arkadelphia. We've got a great video of the color changing capabilities that we have. That was like a full controls package too. Very beautiful field.
So
Hmm.
the fixture itself, the RGB is different from your white fixture, right? Two different
Correct.
fixtures.
Correct. Yeah.
Will they
Yeah.
ever be
Yeah.
combined into
Completely
one? Do you
different.
think, where they'll have the capability to do both?
Sure, if it's someday, the more we keep
It'd be
pushing.
a
I
huge
mean, we're
fixture.
always looking for the. Yeah, I mean, it's either going to be a big advancement in technology to make that smaller, or to just we can get the price point right. Obviously, right? Because any kind of lighting you want right now, you could probably make happen. But what's the cost of that going to be? So once we can get the price point right on something like that, oh, absolutely.
There's some controls that need to be commissioned right there at Greg's office. Lights always going off and on. Those are those smart controls. Guess what? I got dumb controls in my office, Greg, and they never go off and on. They always work.
Always working.
Always work. Interesting, Royce. Tell me a little bit, just to totally change gears and transition to something different here. How did SLG
Yeah.
start? Where did the business start? I only started hearing about you guys a couple of years ago. Are you a newer company? Did you come from an older company and change your name? Tell us a little bit about SLG.
Absolutely. So SLG Lighting started roughly 8 years ago, and the owner of the company, Michael Wu, was on the distribution side, and he got into that business from his dad. So his dad was in electronics distribution, and so he naturally just kind of went into that as well. Um, but something about LED lighting, he just loves. Seeing that man talk about lighting and LED lighting in general is like hearing somebody recite a poem or something, just because he's just so passionate about it. But yeah, about 8 years or so, he switched from the distribution side to uh, manufacturing side. So our main partner has been manufacturing lighting for 20 plus years, and so we've partnered up with them. And so in a lot of ways, SLG Lighting is the U.S. brand for that OEM manufacturer. Um, we specialize. Our biggest sellers are high bays. That's kind of like been our calling card for several years. Been high bays, and where we really saw our biggest strides was around 2019, 2020. COVID-19 happened, and
What?
a lot. Yeah. Believe it or not, COVID-19 happened, and a lot of brands didn't have stock where we had stock. And so that gave us a platform to prove our quality, prove our commitment to our customers, and we've been able to excel ever since.
Hmm. Well, it's fun having you guys on board and nailed, and having Rob on the board and interviewing you here in the show. And I think you guys have a great offering with this sports lighting. Greg, any final questions for Royce before we cut this show down?
Yeah, no, I don't think any questions, unless Royce, we missed anything on your end that you want to highlight with the sports lighter.
No, we just about covered it. I encourage anybody, everybody. The biggest when I was at NICA, the biggest like mind blowing moment for the contractors, for the people visiting by the booth, was I had TV set up that had our actual lights on the field, and then just the connection with that, seeing the actual fields lit up, and then saying, "Oh wow, I didn't know we could do this at this level. I didn't know we could do this type of capabilities." One thing I will say too on sports lighting, I have a promotional products background as well. So for a while, we were doing like special packages for high school teams, and like the biggest reward, biggest anything we could do is when we had the like custom inflatable tunnels that the team would like
Mm,
run out to. They run out through there,
sure.
and it would like not just the team, but the teachers, the staff, everybody at that school. It made them feel like, okay, I'm a part of something bigger, or I'm doing something bigger. And sports
Mm.
lighting is just in the same vein. Upgrade sports lighting, full controls package, and it's no longer a small game. It's no longer our small high school type team. It's a much bigger field, and it gives them a lot of hope.
There you go. Go to slgus.com for sports lighting and high bays and all sorts of other great stuff. Of course, Greg, don't be a chump, buddy. Listen to the host of the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast right now. You listen to me out there, you chumps. You don't punk light fair. You get your butt to Vegas, unless it's your brother's wedding or you're going to be the best man or something like that, fine. But other than that, we all got to go down to Vegas and support light fair. Ain't that right, Greg?
Oh yeah, I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. Royce is going to be there. SLG will be there. Everybody
Nailed will
is.
be there. Nailed's going
We'll
to
be
have a
there.
There will
booth.
be.
Nailed.org, man. We're
People
going
are
to have a
heading
big
Yeah.
nailed party.
out.
We're all going to hang out at Light Fair. Go to naild.org, check out Light Fair, and see you next time. Thanks for listening to Get a Grip on Lighting.